another episode of the Judith Talks podcast. You'll notice that Ewan is not with us tonight, so we'll hopefully do the podcast justice, I think, without him. I hope so. It is anyway Women's Month.
Yes.
It's the month of August, and it's the month where we celebrate women and we celebrate who they are and what they are in society and in our lives. We see that women are portrayed in various ways in the Bible and in society. And also, in this month, we tend to celebrate women differently to what we celebrated men in Men's Month, right? I feel, in my opinion, when we celebrate women, we celebrate them because of their looks and because of their beauty. But when we celebrate men, we celebrate their strength and how cool they are. But it's not necessarily the same with women. So in this podcast, we're going to be unpacking societal views on women, how we grew up as ladies in the home. And you'll see these different people here, different perspectives of different childhoods. And we'll be giving that to you guys today. Okay, so with us, we have a special guest, our apostle, Lucile Schmidt, my mother, a sister, an auntie, a friend, many, many names, a prophet in the church, evangelist. You know, there's many names, a teacher. We welcome you.
Clearly, I'm the fivefold.
We welcome you today, Mummy.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And obviously, we have our lovely Shannon with us. So let's start. So let's just start as a just a normal conversation started. I want to talk about childhood. Because each of us grew up in a different way, right? So, Lucile, Mummy, how was your childhood for you? Because I know you have three sisters.
And I've got 3 sisters and I had a brother.
Okay.
So we grew up extremely conservative. We were Diepingster. So that is how we were brought up. My mother was extremely strict. My father was even stricter, I think. There was a lot of don'ts.
Yeah.
And from a traditional point of view, some people would still say that it was very maybe harsh.
Okay.
But today I reap the benefits of what my mother instilled and what she taught us. Back then, I might not have appreciated it. The friends that we needed to have was our sisters or our cousins. We couldn't just play with anybody or be with anyone.
Yeah.
Our life was church. Yes, and my parents were extremely strict. We couldn't have friends. I think I got my first... You know what? Looking back, I think at the time I might not have been very happy with my mom.
Yeah.
But I've got no regrets. If I see where I am today,
Yeah.
I reap the benefit of a mom who took a stance that her daughters are gonna be raised in the fear of the Lord. Okay. That was my mother's stance. Yeah. And I think I'm benefiting, I know I'm benefiting from the way we were reared.
Yeah. Okay. Shannon?
Hi. So my childhood was completely different. I grew up from a young age. At the younger age, I had my mother with me and my father. But then growing up, I would say about 6 or 7 years old, and then I went to go live with my aunt. So most of my life, I grew up with my aunt, my uncle, and then 3 cousins. So it's the girl cousin
so
and then
all
the
in
boys.
The same house?
Yes, we were in the same house, but my cousin and I, we grew up like sisters.
Okay.
So it didn't feel like I didn't
there was
feel like
separation,
yes, there was no separation. Like all the benefits that they had, I had. So in that regard, even though it felt like, gosh, I don't get the benefits of having my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister, because I had a brother and I still have a sister. We also grew up separately. But I mean, even in that, I didn't lack. So my aunt was also very strict, extremely strict. Like I didn't get to go out a lot. I knew already. Like if a friend asked like about the party, I didn't even bother to go because I had that fear because I knew it was gonna be no. Yeah. And also, the time when I went to go live with her, I started going to church. So I just knew church also. I
Yeah.
knew about church, being in the house, going out. But I mean,
Was it always around your family? Were you
Yes.
always around family
Yes,
all the time?
always. Yeah.
So for me, I had to speak carefully now, because my mommy is sitting next to me. But the way that we grew up, I have one sister, a younger sister. And the way that we grew up is quite similar to, I think, the way that she was raised. Maybe not as harshly, no, mommy?
No,
Not as harshly.
not harsh, strict.
No,
You
sometimes
had,
it was
no,
harsh.
you had a bit of more freedom, I think.
No, yeah, we did have a little bit more freedom, but not as much as we would have liked maybe back then. But as I can also say that we also don't regret anything that we have gone through, because it was a lot of experiences that we had with our parents. Our parents were also very strict. My parents being back then, when I first opened my eyes, it was a youth pastor or youth leader, so to say, and we were always in church, man, like Monday to Sunday, always in church. There wasn't even time to go out. And best believe, if your friend comes,
There wasn't time to sin.
there wasn't time to do anything. That's the way that we grew up. But also those type of things, there was a balance. There was church non-stop, but there was also liquor times. There was holidays, and and there was family time. So there was a balance that we could have appreciated at times, especially Christmas times. I feel like that's where it lived the most. Okay, so in your childhood and in your lives, what do you think is the lesson that you learned? So say, for example, I'm going to give my own opinion first, and you can give an answer if you'd like to. The lessons that I was taught was to be very independent and to do things for myself. No? There's a positive side and there's a negative side to it. What your parents try to instill in you. So for me, it was, my parents taught me to be very independent. I had to drive my own car, get what I want. We were taught to do stuff on your own and to be independent, to not necessarily need anybody, which maybe would have been a bit of a negative thing, because you need people, man.
Yes, you do.
People need people. And I feel that's one of the things that I struggle with. I can't speak for Talia, who's also in the audience.
Thank you, don't speak for me.
But I think that's one of the things that I struggle with. I can't ask for help easily. It's going to take me a lot to ask for help. Because I also do it myself, man. Like, I don't need you to do it. I do it myself. And I think that's the type of personality trait. Because me and my sister Talia is very different. So I think that's the personality that I have. So I'm not sure. What did you...
I think with growing up with my mom, so my mom was someone that stood out for her generation. She was born in 1935. My mom is going to be 88. So for a woman in the 50s to drive a car was a big thing. She was the only woman at that time in a circle that I knew of that could drive a car.
Yeah.
And what I liked about her, she influenced the friends. She taught him how to drive a car. So she had that type of influence, and she didn't take no for an answer. My mom was a gangster, I'm telling you. She took and she didn't take no for an answer. One of mine, just to tell you the character that Ma was, my mother used to sell odds and stuffs, and we went to a place, gangster infested area. Don't think I'll
We don't
mention
name the
name.
area.
And my mother was driving a white Ford Escort at the time.
Yeah.
And I was sitting with her in the car, and the people were actually fighting. They had pangas and they were fighting.
Oh my word.
And she wanted to collect the money. This man is busy fighting. She gaan anti-man sy skuld my geld. By that time I'm in tears.
Yes.
But that is the type of character my mom was. Extremely strong.
Yeah.
She might not have been one for the pulpit, but there was a lot of strength there. And I think I took that with me to know that I don't have to stand back or step back for anyone. And for me, that was in raising girls, that it's not going to be about the prettiness. Yes, it's nice to be pretty. Fortunately, you are, thank God. But it wasn't about that. It was about your character and your strength. I think that was my focus, mine and your father's focus,
Yeah.
to make sure that when life throw something at you, you'll be able to catch it and run with it. Because the thing that irritates me very much is a weak woman or a woman that says, I don't know, I can't, I don't. It irritates the living daylights out of me. I believe we've been given an opportunity to occupy a space. We've been given an opportunity to do something, so do it well.
Yeah.
In your workplace, be an achiever. Do the best you can. Don't step back for anything. Don't be a wimp.
Yeah.
I really don't have time for. I think it's time is fast spent. And if my girls want to irritate me, they must tell me, I don't know how to do it. I can't do it.
So here's a question for me while you're on that, while we're talking about us. Was it difficult to raise two girls?
Yes, it was, because I tried, or the idea was that I'm not going to live my life through the two of you. It was sometimes difficult, just to take a step back at times and allow you to have your own personalities. But I think by the grace of God that was done, because gee whiz, there's enough personality there. So I think there we succeeded, and for you to have a very close relationship with the Lord, if you have that, you set. No amount of money or anything can make up for that. So my goal in life was to make sure that you guys have a close relationship, and that you're not saved because of your parents, but you're saved because you've encountered a relationship. And that's why I push the fact that it's important that you have your own scripture for your life. And I'm thankful that you got your scripture and Talia got her scripture.
Proverbs 3.
Now I want to know what is your scripture.
So for me that was important, and that set the foundation for your life. So was it easy? No, but we made mistakes, and we tried the best we know how.
You did try the best you know. Shannon?
I feel like I was kind of almost forced, because of my situation. I was forced to be independent and to also be responsible. But at the same time, I knew that I still had my own choices that I had to make. Like I said, my auntie was very strict, so everything was don't, like your mom was saying, everything was don't. But you still get to that point where you grow up and you feel like I have my own say, and I feel like I can do this or I can't do that. But for me, ultimately, I just had to decide. I had to make up my mind. What is it that I want?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it was my aunt, so it wasn't my mom. I didn't have a relationship with my mom, so there is kind of a boundary.
Yeah.
So for me,
could you be as open as you would have been with your mom?
No. So we didn't have that close of a relationship. But even though she was the type of person that would, from a young age, would say, when it came to boys, like she would advise you not to have a boyfriend, but she would say, as a man vir jou sê hy's lief vir jou, dan lieg hy. She was one of those parents, and she would openly speak about sex, but I mean, you couldn't come to her in confidence though. So she was kind of like, like if things are still taboo, and also I am the mom, so you have to listen to what I have to say.
Is like right.
Yes, so I didn't get to still argue because ek is or I'm the mother of the house, so I get to say. So at the end of the day, it depends. Like I said, I love speaking about choices. So I could have easily made up my mind, you know what? Yeah. I don't want to be here
because
anymore.
You have experience in that regard.
Yes, so it was easy for me to say, you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. I'll just do whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like because she also gave me an option. Like, you can decide what you want to do. But at the same time, she didn't make me want to go. She could have thrown me out, when you become a teenager.
No, there is
like that
stubbornness. Which we're probably going to hear about soon.
But also, there was the love, I think, and that is what kept me. The love and the generosity that she had.
Did you feel the love through
the hardness? Yes.
Yes. Can I just say, I got blue marks. I have blue marks. Anyway, we're going to talk about it right now.
And that time it wasn't abuse.
And
no?
it wasn't abuse, it was normal.
abuse,
So
yeah.
by the way,
The fact that you couldn't sit was normal.
so by the way, it's still not abuse, and that is something lacking in most parents, and it's how you do it.
It's
You,
discipline.
you're not to,
It's terminology.
yeah, no, it's
It's
how
only
you do it.
terminology. It's only how you say it. Sorry, continue.
It's how you say what you say.
It's how you say it, what you do and how you do it. Wasn't it on the
Yeah,
face?
don't go for kill. Don't go for the kill.
So my question was, I wanted to hear the negatives also, because it's good that you hear the positive side of growing up and what the great morals and principles that were instilled in us. But what were the negatives? Like I could say that my independence was both a positive and a negative because I can't ask for help either.
Yes.
That's my negative. So what is you? I don't want you to. We don't have to butter it up, but just plainly say what was the negatives growing up, especially for a girl, because girls and boys are treated differently, as we know. So for
Yes.
a girl, what was the negatives?
I think, and that was a difficult part because it was my cousin and I, we were girls, and then it was the two boys. They got more scope because they were
Why
boys.
though?
They could just go
Why?
out whenever because you are girls, and I feel because you need to be protected more. And especially mothers, they want to, and dads,
Yeah.
dads, so they want to protect their daughters.
Yeah.
So the boys got more of a scope. They could go with their friends wherever and whenever. Even though, like with them also, you had to go to church on a Sunday. You couldn't stay at home
Sure.
because I'll
That
lock
was
my
the-
door.
yeah.
You need to get
That
out
was
of
the
my
rule.
house. Yes. But I mean, for us also, and I mean, if ever we got to go to friends, there's a curfew. But
Because
with
you left the
boys.
house. At least you left the house.
But there was a curfew. But
On a
with
Saturday.
boys, with boys, like if they stay out later, it's like
It's normal.
yeah, it's a geskellery, and then that's it.
Then it's fine.
Yeah, but
Then
I
they-
think
they're in church the next day.
Yes. But I think it's because
That's
we need to be
important.
protected more, so that's why.
And I think it's important that any parent would want to protect a girl more because I think the girls are more vulnerable to what is out there. And this world can be nasty, so I think we've learned over time that we need to put that protective edge around the girls to make sure that she's going to be all that she can be and that she doesn't have any regrets. I think that is the one thing that I'm thankful for my mom, that I don't have regrets. Yes, you make stupid mistakes and silly mistakes, but not mistakes that you're gonna
Life.
lay at night and think about, So for me, that was then at that time maybe a negative. You can't go, you're not gonna go, or your sisters must go with you.
So now that we've spoken about our childhood and how our childhood has shaped our personalities, right? Now we are now women, right? We are women. What is the worst thing about being a woman? The worst thing. I can answer periods. That is the worst thing. That is the worst thing.
I
about being a
didn't
woman.
even.
No, but it's a discussion.
No, but that is for
It's
you.
chunk
But,
going a week a month. No,
but maybe for you because your experience is
it's
different.
chunk.
So someone else might have a different experience. It's like just.
But I agree with that one. I agree with that.
Exactly. I'm so glad you need to be on agreement with you.
No, for me it wasn't because I could handle it, and it
Are you
wasn't.
calling us weak now?
Yeah, it's part of life. No, it's part of life. No, I never regarded my life went on as normal, and thankfully I wasn't as affected maybe like you guys are going through. God graced me with a bit of a grace in their department. So each one is different. Each one's journey is different. That's just it.
But that was my worst thing about being a
I
woman.
thought you were gonna say more in the workplace because we need to work a little bit harder, be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then we still need to be a mother and a wife and all the other
And all the
stuff.
other titles.
Where in the workplace it can become challenging.
I think all of the years women were idolized, or not idolized, were seen as, even today you have people think she must do the washing, do the ironing, clean the house, take care of the children.
Housewife.
Typical housewife. And I think since that time, I think women has got something to prove today since this women's lib and etc. has come in, and women's power and women's what all.
Gender equality.
Gender equality. So they have something to prove, and I think that is why they're pushing hard to achieve. And I think it's so stupid, because I think according to the mentality, or the word of the Lord rather, you should understand the role of the woman, the role of the man. And if that is understood clearly in a marriage, in a home, then the woman shouldn't be pushing to be anything that she's not, because she should appreciate for who she is.
Do you?
I feel.
I disagree totally, because
Just like point blank.
no, I disagree because you don't walk in my shoes, for example. So in our work environment, the requirement and the expectations is there that
Is the
we.
expectation higher?
I do
for
believe.
women?
I do believe, and when if we fail, for example, then it would be because she's a girl or she's a woman.
Exactly what I said.
No, you
Exactly,
said that
no.
we aspire or that we want to usurp your authority.
No,
that
that's
is not.
That's not what I said.
That some women
No.
might be, but not.
That-
So just for the
I
record,
think the general idea.
That's far from the
is-
truth of what I
But I
said.
think the general idea that your point was that we need to work a little bit harder because of history. That
Yeah,
we need to
and
prove
mom is
ourselves a
typically
bit
in that
more.
position where she
But-
feels she has to prove a point, and if she doesn't achieve, she gets knocked from the pedestal. If she has not achieved, and work expectation wants her to achieve, just be a woman.
No, but that's the problem.
Just be
though.
a woman
We can't
and-
just be a woman because
No,
we are really-
just be
we are
who you
really
are and
on
who
a
God
step
is.
back. History says that women is under the man. If it was a man and a woman for a job position, they would look at the man to get it first. That is just according to historically. Even though it shouldn't be that way.
and it is changing.
It shouldn't
It
be
is
that. And
changing.
women, future is female, that type of thing. But unfortunately, that is what it is. They will look at the man first and what it is.
You know what? Another thing, I have a problem
This is
With
you're going
this-
to edit it
with
anyway.
the 9th of August. Why should it be Women's Day?
It's not a man's day.
No.
it's
Why
women-
should
no,
it be?
South Africa is Women's Day, guys.
But why?
Because women marched in order for us to have the right to vote.
Okay, so we're all about equality here, right?
No, that's not the point. The Women's Day in South Africa is different to Women's Day.
I didn't think
whatever.
the Women's Day.
I raised the
Because
point.
it's
I'm just throwing it out there.
why can't we have a day that's a public holiday?
Let's argue this. But you are there for the public holiday.
I think the whole
They can have a day.
I think of all those women that marched to City Hall.
And what about the men?
There was men involved, but in majority, who was there?
But what about the men that
Women
sacrificed their lives?
They did a great job, thank you.
They got other public holidays.
That's
What? Nelson Mandela got Mandela Day.
No,
He has 16. How many minutes?
Seven minutes.
They can just relax. No, I will refuse. I will fight you.
No, I think
No, I don't think, because if we want to go this route of equality,
I don't want to equality.
why do you want? Exactly. So we need to.
No, you don't. Thanks to those women.
Women's Day.
South Africa, it was 4 ladies, an Indian, a black, a colored, and a white lady. Thank you very much, Tino. And that is why you celebrate that Women's Day should be acknowledged for that reason, not just because of anything else. That's why we have it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So Martin,
No, but we hear you, and I heard your point, and I'm grateful that you've given your point. I am so grateful. Can we give Shannon a chance to talk, please?
I don't even know
All I'm saying is that before Shannon speaks, that I think the problem that we're having in our communities is that the women of today, or some women, I don't want to generalize, there are some women who hasn't taken up that position. So if you look at the state of our communities, if women will just rise up and do what they need to do, be the proper mother, be the proper wife, do whatever you need to do, our streets won't look like it's looking. And I think it's with women, our women must really put their hands here and say, we're accountable for the mess our communities are in. And for me, that's a major problem, where we have women allowing kids to do whatever they want to, lack of discipline. That is why our jails are full. Because I believe that there's been so much compromise in homes, and mothers have compromised so much that they've actually lost their children. And you will hear the narrative is that they say, I'm doing this because I don't want to lose my child. I'm allowing this because I don't want to lose my child. But you're going to lose your child anyway. That's a news flash. You're going to lose your child anyway. If you don't raise up the child in the fear of God with the necessary disciplines in place, you are going to lose your child.
And so, from the men that want to talk so much in the audience, can we give the men a mic, please? What is the best thing about a woman? And think about the women in your lives. What value they add? What do they bring? What's the best thing about having a woman in your life? And it doesn't have to be a girlfriend or whatever. Just generally a woman. What's the best thing about having a woman in your life?
I had someone say something, and it was interesting. Let me say that it was interesting. He said, "A man doesn't know he's a man until there's a woman in his life.
Okay.
Whether it's a mother, whether it's a girlfriend
That's
or a
so cute.
wife. A man doesn't know he's a man until there's a woman in his life. And the woman that is in his life, if she's a good woman, she will test him and make sure that he can deliver the goods, whether it's for your mother, whether it's for your girlfriend or your wife. And I think it's very true. And I think that is one of the things that a woman brings out in a man. A woman will make sure, if it's a good woman, she'll make sure that you do your fair share.
Okay.
That's what I appreciate about women. A good woman will take
A
you
good
beyond
woman
your
makes a
limits.
man.
Yeah, a good woman makes a good man. That's what I
But point in
appreciate.
case.
Thank you, Ewan, for that. I love that.
Can I just add here? Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
I love the saying. He said, nobody is poor who has a godly mother. And that comes from Abraham Lincoln. And this guy ended up a president of the United States of America. So if that mother is grounded and she has a faith totally secure,
Then your
it's
future
almost
is secure.
your future is secure. You have the right guidelines and the right map to raise your kids.
What is the best thing about a woman? The women in your life.
A woman completes a man. Shouldn't be completes and shouldn't compete with a man. And I find women are too much, they want to compete with men, when they just need to be themselves. What God wants. So don't compete, complete.
So
No,
answer the question.
That's not answering my question.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not. What's the best thing about a woman?
Well, that is the best thing, it completes a man.
So this is the problem. That is a purely male perspective, and this is our version of things.
And it's
so
women's
we
mind.
don't interpret that what you are saying, and I think that's where so many
Communication.
So that is where communication.
That panel is elected in what they want to hear.
Because all of
And what
us.
they want to believe. And they want you to say what they want you to say. And I refuse to say what they want to say. I will say what I will answer the question in the context that is asked. I will say what I will answer the question in the context that is asked. My goodness. My goodness.
Daddy's just saying that you complete your movie. That's what Daddy's saying.
But Ashley's not asking that.
No, the first question Ashley asked is what do
Don't you want to complete
what do
me?
you like
Don't you think
about
the need
me?
is to complete me?
No, hold on, Daddy.
Is that my purpose in life?
That's exactly my thing. Our purpose is
Is
not
that
to
my
service
purpose in life?
We are servicing
Ask
him.
God what your purpose is. God.
We are just servicing him.
I did.
But then what is the
No,
No,
but
no.
is that my purpose in life? Is that all I'm good
The
for?
Bible says,
Can we just
because
one
we cannot divert away.
No,
from the
sure,
Bible.
sure.
We can go through,
Yeah.
as you say, all the natural and all the realities of life, but that doesn't nullify the word of God.
Obviously.
Exactly. So the word would say the woman should be submissive to her husband.
No, but what do you say?
I'm saying the Bible says.
You're not hearing us. Your narrative is to service the men. I want you to somehow compliment us. Make us
Women
this
complete men. Mother
No,
complete.
individually, Daddy.
Who are we without you? What are we without men?
What are you?
So,
Yeah.
for example, I'm a widow.
Well, then what? Who's she
Who
servicing
must I
now?
complete?
Who's she servicing
You
now?
should have done it. Woo! You should have talked about that when you had your husband.
No! No!
When your husband
No!
died.
No!
Another one.
No! You're not answering
You
the
would want to,
question.
you would want to say something?
Okay, Daddy.
The world wouldn't be the way it is if there wasn't women in it.
Right?
If it's up to men, we would sleep on a cardboard because we're comfortable there. If you looked at when I started out first, when I lived on my own, it was a bed, a cupboard, a pan, and a kettle, and I'm fine. You know what I mean? But I'm sure the day if I had to get married with that stuff, there would have been a couch. There would have, and the woman would have pushed me to work for softer things. Because man, if
For
I have a
comfort.
TV there and I have a chair there, that's all that I need. You know what I mean? That's like
Yeah.
basic manly
yeah.
instinct. But
Primitive.
very primitive. Because all we need is we need to eat, we need to sleep, and we need to get some way to get money or
Yeah.
something. But the softer things in life,
Which is
we don't
nice.
get it for ourselves. We get it for the women in our lives because we want to make sure that life is soft
Yes.
for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not that we're saying you are not on our level or
Or you're incomplete.
or you are incomplete
You
on
just
your
said
own.
it.
But the fact that I'm saying this, listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying this that everything we do, ask your daddy if he would have been the man that he is if your mommy wasn't there. Ask your daddy if he would have done everything
But
that he
it's
has done if you and Talia were boys, man. You would have done a lot of things that
No,
we
I
did.
feel like
But because he would have done a lot of, I'm convinced there.
But that's not the point of this
But my
conversation.
point is this.
The point of
My
this
point is
conversation
this.
is to highlight
I'm
women,
talking- I'm
not
talking so you can
to
see
work
the
out how
dads.
we can be of benefit to
No,
you.
I'm talking.
Just because
so
we
you
give
can
you a soft life, now we're again talking about you.
No,
No.
I'm trying to demonstrate
Yes.
to you
No.
that women are so important
No.
to
Make
men
your life better.
that they will
Exactly.
that they will do something. I won't say it's not natural, but we will go out of our way to make sure that you are okay. We do all, we take the hard stuff and give the soft stuff.
So-
Not because you are less of what we are, but the Bible says it. You are like almost, what's the word? I don't wanna
We
use
like
the
the trimmings on your Christmas tree.
No.
You are looking for the
Balls on your
You're the root to the tree that
Ah,
blossoms.
come on. Come on. Why must we be
Because it's under.
No way, no.
Listen, women are so important. Women are so important that God says it is not good for man to be alone.
Be alone. There we go.
Carry on with
There's
it.
five, I
Because you
think there's
complete.
5 or 4
Ah,
different
come
interpretations
on.
of the word good.
Come
Economically,
on.
there's-
You complete the man in making feel like a man. Because it was.
So on that point, so thank you for your comments.
No, but I'm not done
But
yet.
I'm so glad. But thank you for that comments. But on that point, I was doing some research as I usually do, right? And I wanted to see what is the difference between male and female, and why is it? Because on that topic of why is women so, what's the word? So on the back burner when it comes to moving up the corporate ladder, or even in family situations. Women are always, and in ministry, thank you.
So imagine women want to move up the corporate level, but don't move up the ministry level.
I don't know what ministry and what corporate ladder you're watching, but we want to just move up all the time. But in any case,
But not
why
in
is
ministry.
it that it's so difficult for us? And anyway,
That's an interesting thing. So your father mentioned why women aren't interested in climbing the corporate ladder with
But
the
I'm getting
ministry.
there.
So can I just, before I forget, because I'm going to forget. So now we have this congregation, right? So we have this congregation, and we have he's now pastor, right? We acknowledge him, happiness. Then they say no. Then they say, but the wife is also now pastor, right? Then when it comes to affirmations and acknowledgements, then they only speak about him. Then they don't speak about she's now also supposed to be, because we're now there, you know, as our pastor. And now you think, okay, but he gets maybe a flower and I get the leaves. No, I am making a general. Because I speak about my own husband.
Yeah.
So you acknowledge me, I can live with it, but I've seen it in the ministry.
Thank you.
we always say as a disclaimer, Not here. It's always by other church. Sometimes.
Yeah, but
Never here.
they say the woman is the pastor,
Act like
but they don't treat her like the
Practice.
pastor. Or they don't give her that space or even the airtime to be the pastor. But it is, and I find it so, I actually find it quite funny when they do a, what's it, pastor's appreciation, no? And then the arme vrou sit daar in die hoekie, and it's all about him. And that is where there's a problem, where you say that the women are not wanting to climb the ministry corporate ladder, if I can put it like
It's
that.
only in recent years that women are allowed to climb
Fair enough.
Where the woman again honors her husband, which is not the wrong thing. It's not the wrong thing. But honors her husband to the degree that he alone is the pastor. And then you get that flip side again.
That's good because the reason why, so let me go back to my point, because it helps my point. So the theory is you get, it's called the confidence gap, right? So people usually notice the confidence gap in the corporate world, where it's an economic gap. So that is where my mommy was talking about, where women are generally, even in today, women are paid less. And if you're a woman of color, you're paid even lesser. And that is statistically proven fact today, society.
Also, can I just jump in there? Things are changing.
And that's
Things
why-
are
and
changing.
it is better than what it was, but the margin is slowly closing, but the margin is still there, right? So then, on that point, the confidence gap says that evidence shows that women are less self-assured than men, and that to succeed, confidence matters as much as competence. So before, women were the ones that used to stay at home. They weren't usually the ones to get the degree, to get the diploma, to get the PhD. Men were that. And that's where the competence comes in. But because men are biologically just more self-assured and more confident in themselves, that is why they, according to theory, that is why they are pushing themselves more into higher roles. And that is why women find themselves in a lesser position. The case study that the theory said was there was a woman and a man going for the same position, and because she had they were at the same university, I'm speaking under correction, they were the same university, they had the same qualifications, their competence level was exactly the same. But because, and when in the interview, because she wasn't as confident in the interview as the man was, they chose the man. So it wasn't necessarily, I want to say it's not necessarily because of the gender, but it's because of the way the female showed up. And that's the problem that females have today, according to theory. I'm not saying it's publicly, and I'm not saying it's, I'm just saying generally in society, women feel like you said, my husband's a pastor, we put ourselves on the back burner because it's almost like we trained, man, to say like, no, you eat first.
To be on the back burner.
Especially in church.
Especially in church. And I don't even understand where this lack of confidence comes from, but it's so deeply, is it ingrained? Yeah, into yourself, because you're a woman and because of society norms and standards. That is not, it's not outright, it's almost like an underlying factor that you are not as self-assured as men. And that is why we feel the way we feel, that we are not, that we give this the limelight. And not all women, but some women give the limelight over to the men.
Also, I think it's because we biologically were created to nurture,
To help.
to be a helper. So, then again, we have to kind of work on the confidence level. That is something we need to, as a person, individually, you need to work on it. You need to see where you are lacking and to work on it. And that is not something we often do. We try to be modest. You don't want to think too highly of ourselves. You don't want to
blow our own horn.
On the confidence level. So we have a jungle gym. We've got little Talia and we've got little Peter. So Peter's mom is going to say, go for it, run, fall.
Exactly what I was
But
going to
the
say.
little girl, we're going to want to catch and hold. So it starts there. It starts with how we raise our children.
Yeah.
So it's the society, of course, and of course how your parents also showed up in your upbringing. So I would throw my child into the deep end of a pool and leave her.
You did.
Which I did.
You did.
But then you have some. Yeah, but I was there. But then you have some parents that will mollycoddle this child. This child must be put on on a cabinet, and she's gonna hurt herself, and it's all this nonsense. And I think that is what we need to get rid of. We need to make our girls stronger. They need to be.
They're not risky. I feel like we've been for boys and I don't know boy, but when you see boys and girls in the, like you would not say in a playground, boys are risky, man. They don't think of the consequences that's gonna happen afterwards. They will so much jump, like you say. They will do whatever, and that is where I'm grateful that my parents taught us to just jump, just do it, man, just do it. And that's where girls don't.
Like your mom said, babes, it's like on the upbringing.
Yes.
In other words, when you see the difference is when we said to you jump, and when you jumped, we were there to catch you. When you jumped, the parent was there to catch you, or to save you, or whatever. When most other parents, they say jump or said jump, they were never there to catch the child. And left the child to be hurt, or get hurt, but not to soothe or to comfort the child.
Afterwards, yeah.
Afterwards, and that's the difference between parenting. That's why we left with most children and parents today being scarred because of their upbringing.
Who is your biblical blueprint? If you know what I mean, your woman biblical blueprint. I want to know, what is the lady that you look to in the Bible that says, I want to be like her because X, Y, and Z?
For me, Esther. I would refer to two ladies. So Esther, number one, because she's so brave and she was so courageous to just put herself out there to actually fight for a nation, for a people. And then the other one would be Ruth, because of her loyalty. She was very loyal to her mother-in-law, and I relate to her because when I got married, I immediately latched onto my mother-in-law.
Okay.
So the two of them, for me, I would say it's a blueprint.
For you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I think, well, there's quite a few, but if I must choose one tonight, I would go with Jochebed, Moses' mom.
Okay.
The things that she had to endure. So they were in this place, they were slaves, there were so many things happening, and she had to instinctively realize that God is going to come through for her somehow. And she took something that might be so stupid to us. She trusted in this to put her child in this basket because she knew that she couldn't take care of him, but God is going to take care of him.
Yeah.
And she trusted God enough to release and to let go. And I think if we as moms come to the point to realize that God can take better care of our kids than we can, and put that child in that basket. Moses ended up in Pharaoh's courts, palace. So that's, I believe, what will happen if we as moms do that. Release them, place them totally in God's hands, and let God take him to where to fulfill that child's destiny. So in this instance for tonight, I would choose Jochebed as a blueprint in how I believe I should have raised my children.
And before we could wrap up the podcast, I want to just hear by you, what is the closing, do you have any closing remarks, comments? Just like a roundup.
I think that women underestimate the value that they can add to society. I really do believe that. There's so much more that we as women can do, but we allow ourselves to, because of circumstances, to take a step back, and we allow, or we have this concept that we're not good enough.
Yeah.
But I think we need to realize that we are worth it, we are valuable.
You are enough.
We are more than enough. That would be my conclusion.
I feel it is important that you need to find your identity. Number one is to find your identity, and then it's for me, it's very important to set standards. That's something that I always advise friends or family when females, when they ask me advice, set standards and don't lower your standards for yourself, and think of your future. Have ambition and goals, and then trust in God. Ask God for wisdom and guidance. But like I said, it starts with your identity, and your identity will first have to be in God. And then from there, I believe that God will just order your steps as you trust in Him and His guidance.
I think this is something that we must, as women, everyone, and especially girls. I read this book by Levi Lasko. I think he's amazing, by the way. So in his book, he writes about the raw. Now I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about the one thing. And the question that he poses is, how do you make a pizza grow cool faster?
Get cold quicker.
Yeah.
Get cold quicker.
Yeah.
You put it on a cold surface.
No.
Put it in the fridge.
No.
I don't know.
How do you make a pizza go cold quicker? You pull the pizza apart.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
So there's unity. When women get together
Okay.
and there's unity, they can achieve so much more.
They're hot.
They're hot. They're hot.
women now.
Exactly.
So I think that was my last thing, sorry. So my last thing is that we need to realize that when we as women pull together and bandy together, we can create a strong family, a strong community, and a strong nation.
Here we go. It's a nice point, and I think we will, on that note, we will end there, and we'll say thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other social platforms. Bye!
Bye.